Hey everybody, Stu Smith here going live. Hope you guys are well. It has been one of those weeks already, but you know what? It's not as bad as going through Hell Week, which is also happening right now. In fact, they are in day 2 of Hell Week. Hopefully, by the end of this show, I get some feedback from how the boys are doing. But anyway, they've been up since Sunday night, and they just saw their second sunrise in this Hell Week. Here in Annapolis, we got graduation week going on at the academy, so it's a cluster. Got Blue Angels flying today and tomorrow. My wife's out of town. Got all kinds of stuff going on. Just busy. Um, so, but we get stuff done. So, real quick, how do you get stuff done when you're crazy busy? Well, first of all, it has to be such a locked in habit that it doesn't matter what you're doing, that you got an early morning to get something done. You have to wake up a little bit earlier, you get something done. If you have to cut it in half because you don't have time, cut it in half. At least you're getting something in. Um, but yeah, don't just blow it off just because you're busy. We're all busy, and we all got stuff that we got to do that's going to distract us from taking care of ourselves. And if you do that too often, it becomes chronic. So we're trying to avoid that. So yesterday I had a good workout in, but too many things to juggle, and I could not get to the live Q&A on time without it being really screwing up my day. So we just decided to bump it to the right. So what we are doing is just going to do a regular live Q&A today. Take questions. So the way this works, if you're new to this, is send me a question. I'll answer it. 9 times out of 10, I've probably answered it in the form of an article, but that's okay. If you haven't gone there first, I can definitely answer you more specifically in this briefly. But if you need a more in depth answer, just email me, stu@stusmith.com. I answer all those. And in fact, a lot of them become articles. So if it's a question I haven't answered, I'll answer it and maybe turn it into an article. So, real quick, Luke asks, how can I keep my level of fitness up through basic while preparing to go right into selection after? More specifically, the Rangers. Well, beauty of your Army path is that it's a little more physically demanding than Navy or Air Force basic training boot camps. So there's not a whole lot of deconditioning that occurs. You're at least going to be running, PTing, rucking in the Army. It might be at a lower level than you are, but my advice is this: peak going into your basic training. Let basic training be a little bit of a deload for you. And then um, during the infantry schools, it's going to be a little bit harder. During airborne, you got some time to train. Um, so you actually do have some time to train after your basic. But the good news is you don't have to train that hard because you didn't get that out of shape. But if you feel like you're getting out of shape while you're going through basic, add some training in. Just like I tell the folks at Navy boot camps and Air Force boot camps, Navy OCS even, is you got to get in workouts somewhere and they're on you. So you either wake up early, get stuff done, you stay up a little later, get some stuff done. Though I will say this, if you're working out hard before you go to bed, it's going to be hard to go to bed. So, my advice is just get up earlier and crush something in the morning before you go to do your regular day at basic training. And that can be, you can do an upper body day, lower body day. You can do, exercises, squats, lunges, jumps. Um, Upper body days can be burpees, push-ups, abs, flutter kicks, pull-ups. There should be a pull-up bar around somewhere, maybe. But just crank out as much as you can. All right, let's see. A couple more questions just coming in. I'm over here on YouTube and Instagram. I think Facebook too. I've been waking up with a stiff lower back. Anything in particular you would recommend to address? Gary, sometimes that happens to me. Sometimes I just look at it as because I'm 56, I'm going to have a stiff lower back when I wake up. Hips and lower back are tight. But you can also look at it at how you're sleeping. Do you sleep with a pillow between your knees if you sleep on your side? Do you have a firm mattress, or at least one that contours with your body and supports it nicely if you're laying on your back? Don't ever lay on your stomach because that will hurt your back. Um, yeah, try feet elevated even if that hurts your lower back. A lot of things, but usually what I do is I will stretch a little bit before bed. That makes a huge difference. Just 10 minutes, while you're just hanging out before you go to bed, just touch your toes, thigh stretch, hamstrings, lower back, twists, and then go to sleep. And you'll usually be a lot less sore in the morning. Let's see. Anybody who's listening, anybody have any updates on Hell Week numbers? I think they started with 60. If you have that kind of intel, share it. I'm just curious because it's been what 48 hours? Yeah, roughly, maybe a little bit longer than 48 hours. Probably about 54 hours, 56 hours, somewhere around there. So it's their second morning seeing the sunlight. So it's 6 a.m. there. So they're probably just seeing their second sunrise. Wonder what the numbers are. Usually the first 24 to 48 hours are the worst. After that, it's either injuries or failing to keep up that gets you dropped. Let's see. Where's the balance between weightlifting and calisthenics? Good question. Well, I personally like doing both well, so I split it 50-50. So, but it depends on your goals. If you're trying to be strong, probably want more weights than calisthenics. If you're trying to have more muscle stamina and endurance, then you probably want more calisthenics and cardio. So, strengths and weaknesses all matter. So, my advice is if you have a weakness between weightlifting and calisthenics or strength and muscle stamina, then that should weigh heavier than your current strength. So, for instance, when I grew up from, I don't know, lifting at 13 years old until I went to college, still lifted a couple of years. And then when I decided to transition out of this powerlifting football rugby player and transition into a specs ops candidate, I quit lifting. So I did zero lifting for a good year and a half, and just did triathlon training and calisthenics. That was it. Now I did some sandbag work, stuff like that, but there were no weights in my program. So I had a weightlifting strength and a calisthenics cardio weakness. So I focused on my weakness until it was not a weakness. So that's the balance. So there's no one answer for it. Kind of depends. So Justin says, can I ask a none workout question? I don't know what that means. You can ask a workout question. I don't know what a non-workout question is. Maybe non-workout question? Of course you can ask a non-workout question. I'm training pretty hard for EOD selection, which is in about 6 weeks. When should I deload before selection? Is a week before enough, or should I not at all? That's a little bit different. I mean, if you're going hard right now and you know you're about to start something hard in 6 weeks, then yeah, I'd probably pull back a couple weeks, just kind of ease into it. Drop some mileage, drop some reps, drop some weight, and just ease into it. But here's the problem: is are you starting selection immediately, or do you have like this prep process that's going to take 6 to 8 weeks? If you have that interferes with actual hard training, then I would just go in, you know, peaking, because that prep is going to be somewhat of a deload process, if you will, if you're really training hard. So it kind of depends. Like for guys who are going to buds right after, let's say, they leave the academy or their college and they're just peaking, right? Tearing it up. Well, they're going to go to buds and not really be at buds first phase for 2-3 months, because they got this long extended prep process that is really designed for the enlisted guys coming out of boot camp that deconditioned because there wasn't a whole lot of training going there for the last 8 to 10 weeks. So they spend some time rebuilding them. So for those guys, I just say just go in hard and then use prep as a taper. But if you're going in hard and you know you're starting on day one when you get there, I would taper yourself for sure. What kind of running mileage do you recommend before securing SO contracts? I wouldn't say you need to be crazy mileage. I'd say 20 to 25 fast mileage. So, be at your 6 to 7 minute mile pace at that. And then from there, once you get your contract, you can start adding some more miles if you want. Somebody asked if I'm watching the Blue Angels today. I do not think so. I got some situations that I just can't be there. So, Jeff Nichols and Shipley said Red Squadron is the most decorated unit in the U.S. military. Do you know if that's the case? I do not know if that's the case. I mean, I know of the things they have done, and they are highly decorated for sure. I don't know if they're the most decorated, but you know what? Who cares? There's some great, highly decorated units out there that I would say that's pretty badass. I don't know why people have to be so absolutist. And I don't know if it's true. So it could be, could absolutely be. But even then, who cares? It is a highly decorated unit of badasses. I know countless people in that squadron, but I know blue and gold squadrons are killer too. So, and Delta, there's some infantry units that have a ton of Medal of Honor recipients in these last few wars. You know what the number one job that gets the most Congressional Medals of Honor is? Do you guys know what that is? Can you guess? All it takes is looking at all the Medal of Honor recipients, and there's one job that sticks out as like, holy crap. Nope, not JTAC. It is corpsman or medic. Those guys go above and beyond all the time. Yep, medic. Gary got it. All right, what kind of questions we have? Any more? So today is not your typical Tuesday for me. I'm not going to show CSS videos tomorrow. I'll be back on. I'm just playing catch up. So tomorrow morning, about the same time, 8:45, 9:15, I'll probably be on in that time for about 45 minutes. And I'll do some CSS videos and live Q&A tomorrow as well. So this workout today, we did a great little track workout. If you're interested in how this one worked, we did it takes a mile just to get to the track. So on the way to the track, we do this little squat toe touch pyramid, nice and easy, gets warmed up, go to 10, and then by the time you finish that mile, you're sitting at the track. And then we do a little warm up, some dynamic stretches. Looks like a whole bunch of like pregame lacrosse football players out there cranking out some dynamic stretches. Really smart, because the next set we're going to do is called the 100-100. And this is you do 100 yards fast and 100 yards easy. And every minute on the minute, you have to go again. Do 10 sets. Takes 10 minutes. And it's a pretty good one. I mean, there's some guys, usually everybody gets back in about 50, 55 seconds, but 5-10 seconds later, you got to go again. That's a tough one. And then the next set was 8 400s at your goal pace. So this is not sprinting, not zone 2. What score do you want on your mile-and-a-half timed run? And that is the goal of each one of these 400s. So if that's a 9-minute mile-and-a-half that you're working towards, then you have to get a 90-second lap. And then you do 20 squats as your rest and go back to the next lap. And you do that 8 times. So that's 2 miles there. So it's a mile worth of 100-100s, and then 2 miles worth of 400s. Then we run the bleachers for 10 minutes, probably get another mile of bleachers. And then we do what we call the Chambers Mile now, which is quarter mile lunge, quarter mile bear crawl, quarter mile fireman carry. And then the guys finished it off with some extra credit, flutter kicks and neck work. It's a good day. So that's kind of stuff we do here in Severna Park. Just happened to be a leg cardio day for us. And it's always good to get after it. Do you have any tips for staying calm on long sets of underwaters? Yeah, my advice is this, don't overwork when you're underwater. Where I see most people screw up is they just constantly are stroking, moving, kicking, doing all this stuff, just getting exhausted. And, if you can just work on your pulls and glides, small kick and tight arm recovery, and just kick and glide, and work to get across the pool in as few strokes as possible. First, I want you to test it and see how many strokes it takes. If you're in the double digits, you're working way too hard in a 25-yard pool. If you can do it in 5, that's pretty good. If you do it in 4, even better. So 4 strokes to get across the pool. That's with a kickoff. 5 without a kickoff. That's legit. So I've seen guys do it in 3. They're super streamlined. It's possible. And it's just all gliding. It's not working. So you get a good pull and you pull properly. It is no harder than holding your breath and walking 25 meters. I'm telling you. As you get more efficient, it's easier to do underwaters. The less efficient you are, the harder it's going to be to do 100-meter or 25 or 50-meter underwater swims. So Practice efficiency. Same way for CSS. You need to practice efficiency. I can't tell you how many people, I see even coaching, just constant flutter kicks. Like, keep on flutter kicking. You're going to be too slow. Well, guess what? You're going to waste a lot of energy if you're flutter kicking. I counted a guy's flutter kicks. He did like a 920. Not bad. He did 550 flutter kicks in a 500-yard swim. That's a lot of flutter kicking, right? And guess what that does to later? Your hip flexors are torn out because now it's going to affect your sit-ups. Your run's jacked up because your legs are all tired, but you burned out a whole lot of glycogen and blood sugar just trying to flutter kick, where if you just kick once per stroke and glide, probably you'd be faster. So efficiency is key in the water. 100%. My dog says hello. Oh no, can you guys hear my beagle howling? Probably somebody walking across the front yard. Mr. Chambers, good to see you, sir. We did a Chambers Mile today, honor of your son. It's good to have you on here, sir. Your son is remembered every day in our group. So yeah, if you guys don't know, we renamed the Devil's Mile the Chambers Mile after Chris Chambers. And he was one of the guys who trained with us when we came up with the Devil's Mile. And it was one of his things that he did not like to do very much with us, but he crushed it when he did. And it was in fact, he was the guy who was instrumental in saying we need to work on these three things because I'm not good at them. He was that good of a student that understood his weaknesses and knew he had to work on them. That was just the type of guy he was. And then when he came back after Buds and became a SEAL, he came back and he was a great mentor. Come back and talk to our guys, take them out to breakfast, answer all their stupid questions. I mean, he was just the best. So he is missed, Mr. Chambers. Let's see. What else we got? We got any more questions over here? Any workouts for cami swims? I do 300-meter swims with a 5-minute tread. Any other workouts? That's a good one. Cami swims are tough, and you need to practice cami swims, especially if you are, especially if you're doing like recon training. Marine Corps guys like swimming in their camis. Air Force do some underwaters with pants on and shirt and booties. That's a tough one. I would recommend doing some over-unders with your clothes on as well. Not easy, not fun, but once you start practicing it, you start figuring out your strategies. And that's one of the biggest things in this. When people say, how do I get my 4-mile timed run faster? How do I get my 2-mile swim faster? I know it's kind of a stupid answer for me to do this to people, but I say you need to run 4 miles. You need to swim 2 miles. Because when you do that, you, one, realize, okay, this is a paced event that I need to figure out my pace. So you start figuring out these little strategies. You figure out that, oh, I got a current that's pushing me. So maybe I can kick and glide more going with the current. And then when I turn around, I have to, constantly flutter kick to get back. Those are types of strategies that help you figure out open water swimming, 4 mile timed runs, and I can see 4 mile timed runs getting faster every week when people practice a 4 mile timed run. I know it's boring. I know it's not fun. You could do some mile repeats and you could do some 800s. We do those too. We run on the beach, we run hills, we run sprints. All those are great for making running harder. But when you really want to get specific with what you're working on, you need to train specific and crush that event. Doesn't have to be every day, just once a week. Assess yourself and start figuring out your strategies. How are you going to do it? Are you going to work the same pace of a 4 mile timed run? Are you going to go 2 miles one way, 2 miles back, and you're going to negative split it? There's so many different options for you, and it really kind of depends on you and your conditioning on how you want to tackle that event. But yeah, that's what I would do. If you got a cami swim to come up, practice cami swims. Every time you are in the pool, you should be swimming and treading with camis, if that's what your future looks like. It doesn't have to be a whole swim, just 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then take your camis off and work on something else. Work on your fins, work on, swimming without camis. All right. I'm currently doing your pull up max times 10 days training. Went from 6 to 10 to 14 to 19. Nice. It's a genius workout. Thank you, sir. Where does this plateau? Well, here's the deal. I don't recommend doing this forever. This is one of those 2-week deals that you overload calisthenics, meaning you're pushing to a point where you don't fully recover in those 10 days. You take 3 days off and then you test, and it does work, and you'll start seeing improvements along the way. This is another one of those things. How do you get better at pull-ups? What did he do? He did more pull-ups. He practiced pull-ups. And you do it for 10 days. Now, here's my advice for you. If you built it up to 19, that's awesome. It will stay there if you keep doing pull-ups every other day. So now go into a normal split routine where you do upper body, lower body splits through the week, or full body cardio splits, whatever. You can mix it up. But you don't want to do daily calisthenics. Just every other day, recover from them, build up some volume, start working like a Murph workout where you do 100, 200, 300 in as few sets as possible, pull-ups, push-ups, squats in as few sets as possible, and see what your max rep sets can maintain for multiple sets. That's a really good way to do it. And it's all active rest in there. You're not just sitting down, chilling out. You're either running or doing the next set to recover. That's going to get you 20 plus. But yeah, if you go to Factor, here's an article: 3 favorite workouts to crush your fitness tests. I'm going to put this in here. A lot of my programs have this kind of built into it. Especially PST type prep programs. If you see this link right here, 3 favorite workouts to crush fitness tests, is called the Pyramid, Superset, Max Rep Set, and how to use them. So check out that article. It'll show you how to design your week to do it this way, and it works really well. Is it the only way to do it? No. It is a way that I have been using since the 80s, and it works for everybody. All right, let's see what else we got. Is there a program you'd recommend me doing if I'm waiting to join another branch for special ops because I need waivers for my eyesight? No. I mean, if you really want to do, I'm assuming Navy, then get your eye surgery, wait 6 months, train hard, and you get the waiver and go. Now, if you don't get the waiver, then yeah, absolutely go for another. I can't tell you how many people have gone to Green Beret or Marines, Definitely Green Beret, maybe not Marines. It was either a depth perception or color blindness issue. Um, so there we go. I got a update on this Hell Week. So they started with 70, not 60. So my bad on that intel. Started with 70 and they have lost 18. That's not bad. Usually in the first 2 days, they lose about 50%. So that's good. But yeah, we've had people who went to Navy boot camp, passed all their eyesight stuff, and then they get there and they either have color blindness that they didn't realize that somehow they got through the color blindness test at MEPS, or they have depth perception issues and decided not to join the Navy and decided to jump right into the Army, and they're Green Berets now. What are your recommendations on training when sick? Good question. I've written some articles on this one. Kind of depends on your sickness. If it's up to here and up, so it's a head cold, not a big deal. Just kind of get through it. You got bad throat. Um, Inhaling and exhaling hard will probably make that worse, and that may turn into bronchitis. If it's down here in the chest, absolutely lay off the hard cardio. Might be able to do some lifting and stuff. But depending on how your throat and lungs look, you probably want to lay off the hard cardio. You can keep your heart rate down, lift, get out of there. But here's the problem: if you're feverish, stay away from people. You're just going to get more people sick, and you're going to feel like crap after training. So actually, rest with a fever. That's where I kind of draw the line on that one. A little bit late to the live. Do you have people in Hell Week right now? I will neither confirm nor deny that statement or question. There are a lot of people at Buds right now that worked with us. Let's see a couple questions. How long should your workouts take? It usually takes 2 hours. Is there a standard you look for with time? Good question. I mean, if you're doing the full workout, it's going to be a couple hours. I mean, because quite frankly, there's no 30-minute gym workout that is going to prepare you for spec ops training. So if you're rucking, that's going to take time. If you're swimming, it's going to take time. Lifting, calisthenics, running, all take time. So yeah, we usually, I'd say hour and a half to 2 hours is where we are. And then we usually swim separately. So another 30, 45 minutes. So sometimes it's a little big. Let's see. Do you ever support running with sandbags on your head to get ready for land portage? Yeah, we do that, but not often. When we do, it's kind of a rest from chest carry. So we'll do a lot of chest carry lunges and chest carry walking and running like you're chest carrying a log. And then your rest is head carry or shoulder carry. We usually shoulder carry run. We don't head carry run. Just kind of awkward. But I mean, we do work our neck. In fact, I wrote a pretty good article on neck workouts for boats. Stu Smith. Running neck. Building neck strength for running boats. So this is just a little, we call it 6-minute necks. It's a great little way to train, get your neck strong. So check out that article. Pretty good. I'll post it over here on both Instagram and YouTube. Oh, let's see. There's a lot of questions. Are migraines a disqualifier from buds? that can be waived? I don't know. I've heard maybe not, but I don't want to tell you the wrong information, so I'm going to say I don't know. Does it matter what your zone 2 time is? Does it have to be a certain time or does it matter? Good question. I mean, you want a pretty fast zone 2. If you're doing a 10-minute mile zone 2, you could definitely get that a little faster. My advice is try to get it down to like 8, 8-minute mile zone 2. Be an easy 8-minute pace, but that takes some time, but that would be ideal. Then you can go into flirt with that 7-minute mile pace if you wanted to, a little bit higher than zone 2. And then if you're really pushing it for a mile and a half, then you can, bump it up 3 or 4, get that 6-minute mile. But that's where you want to be. You want to be able to run a 6-7-minute mile, not be a gut check. So an 8-minute mile zone 2 makes sense. Do you ever support? Let me see. You already asked that question. I'm trying to see if I missed any questions. Unfortunately, I got to keep this short today because I got to go. For running, is it better to train at pace and add distance or run long and gradually go faster? Both ways work. Which one's better? Kind of depends on you and your journey. So some sprinters may want to go longer and gradually pick up the pace. Longer distance runners may want to train at pace and pick up the speed. Maybe they don't need to add distance. So kind of a mix, really. Kind of your preference because both ways work. I don't have one way or the other. I tend to use a lot of pacing drills, but I also do a lot of hard running drills. Hard running meaning soft sand, hills, weighted, bleachers. All of those are ways to make running harder. And when you run flat and easy, it's an easy day. So I see there's some questions that I'm going to miss answering. I apologize. I'll be back tomorrow. You can answer them, ask them again tomorrow or put them in an email, send them to me at stu@stewsmith.com. I will answer them personally and send you links to better answers. But you can go check out stewsmithfitness.com, use the live15 coupon code and save yourself 15% on any program over there. Sorry, I got to bail a little bit early, but it's just one of those weeks. Got stuff to do, and I'm going to go do it. So I'll see you tomorrow and probably about the same time, and we'll get it done. Have a good one.